Welcome back to Writing and Reading the Declaration of Independence. In this talk, we'll be looking at John Locke and the influence he had on the American Revolution. Locke published his two treatises on civil government in 1690 and died in 1704. Even though he was from the preceding century, his writings frequently appeared in American newspapers. Locke was a philosopher, albeit a practical one. He wrote about education, religious tolerance, economics, politics. He was a consultant to government and a successful physician. His strength was his ability to clearly state rational arguments in the often irrational field of politics. He was a man of his political times. He understood the limited franchise. He understood that politics was dependent on the largesse and influence of great men. He had some sympathy for the unenfranchised, but a suspicion of their ability to participate in a peaceful government. His views on the development of mankind were biblical. Mankind had a common origin. All mankind evidently appeared at the same time. Their initial experience had been the same, but after that there was progress in varying degrees, and Europeans ended up on top. Jefferson borrowed extensively from Locke's second treatise on civil government, but the American Revolution would have happened regardless of Locke. Its rhetoric would have been the poorer though. Let's see what Locke had to say. Locke believed that mankind in his original state did not have any society, but moved into that society in order to gain security. Here's what he had to say about that natural liberty of mankind. The natural liberty of man is to be free from any superior power on earth, and not to be under the will or legislative authority of man, but to have only the law of nature for his rule. And we'll look at the law of nature in a moment. The liberty of man in society is to be under no other legislative power but that established by the consent in the commonwealth, nor under the dominion of any will or restraint of any law, but what that legislative shall enact according to the trust put in it. So what was this law of nature? Well, here's what it is, and there's no doubt as to why it appealed to Jefferson. The state of nature has a law of nature to govern it, which obliges everyone, and reason, which is that law, reaches all mankind who will but consult it, that being all equal and independent, no one ought to harm another in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. That's pretty unequivocal. Locke had a lot to say. I will skip it. It'll take hours to read it. But I encourage you to read the second treatise on civil government. Let me conclude with what was of particular interest to the American advocates of independence. Whosoever uses force without right, as everyone does in society who does it without law, puts himself into a state of war with those against whom he so uses it, and in that state all former ties are cancelled, all other rights cease, and everyone has a right to defend himself and to resist the aggressor. There was the American claim that they were in revolution, not in rebellion, and once the British government had launched armed actions against the colonists, that is what kicked in. Whosoever uses force without right.